Hello and welcome back to the Archive Podcast. I am so happy you are here and I am so excited for our guest today. I have Dr. Hanaa Jimenez here with me. Hello, Hanaa.
Hello, it's so good to be here.
So I am so excited for this conversation. I said that in our little pre-prep talk here ahead of time that I think it's so timely. And so Hanaa and I met at ROI, as this season is all dedicated to women. I'm showcasing from ROI, and that was Rachel Rogers Millionaire Summit in June, I guess now in 2025. And we met actually at a leadership brain date.
Yes, exactly. I know. It was a great conversation.
We had a great conversation. And it's kind of like in those situations when you're there and you meet in these like just who you connect with, right? Like I love like the interactions and just the connections that you make moving forward and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I am so glad." They're just like we were meant to talk,
100%.
right?
100%. Yes.
Yeah. So, we're going to talk today a little bit about, and I love this, conscious leadership because we are in a time that is rather unique. We'll put it that way.
Yes. Say it lightly.
Yes. And that, like we really need to, I think, have an awareness and have the conversation around like purpose led leadership and the importance of that and building inclusive communities that can show up really authentically. And I don't know that we sometimes in leadership, or many times I might say in leadership, that we don't always come across really great leaders who are conscious about how they are leading and how they are choosing to lead. So before we kind of dive in, I always ask this question to my guests is, can you share a moment in your life when you've truly felt seen, heard, and valued?
Oh, I love that. I love that question. Yes. So I would say it was actually a somewhat recent experience, but I recently attended a dinner at a friend's house. They live in another state, but we came together to talk about our businesses and kind of reflect on how the past year had been, things that we needed to release, and also what we really were looking forward to for the year ahead. And it was just such a lovely time of really being able to show up as my full self, talk about things that, I had been through, especially over the past year, things that I'd really been carried and that maybe were weighing down on me, and to feel so heard and held. And I felt like I really truly could release that. And because of that, I had more space, so to speak, to really embrace what I was looking to build moving forward. So I think that just for me, that really speaks to just the power of having support and community, and people where you can show up as your full whole self
Mm.
and be held in that way.
Yeah. I love that because it doesn't always have to be these big moments, right?
Right.
Sometimes those most impactful moments where you realize you have that space is with your friends or, it could be with your family. And those can be just as impactful and perhaps even more in those moments that it doesn't have to be the big like movie scene because that's
Yes.
not really real like how we're living in our real life, right?
Yes.
So I love that. So let's sort of dive in. So I like to start on the archive as we talk about the individual journey. So can you tell me a little bit about your journey to get to where you are today, doing what you're doing and making like this incredible impact in the world?
Yeah, thank you. I would love to. So, um, So really going kind of back to my roots and the start. So I am the first generation daughter of immigrants. Both of my parents immigrated to the US and had me. And then growing up, so both of my parents were actually from two very different cultures. And it was something that I struggled with, especially as a child. I will say now, in hindsight, I really see how that has shaped my ability to look at things as a both and from that perspective rather than either or.
Oh, I love
And
that.
so, thank you. So, growing up, and I am a former, my undergrad's in English, so I am an English nerd, but W.E.B. Du Bois talks a lot about double consciousness and, feeling like you're really kind of being existing between these two worlds.
Hmm.
And I'd say that really defined a lot of my experience growing up, kind of not quite knowing where I belonged. That carried over into being an adult, especially early on. And so I was a single mom. I had my son 4 days after I turned 21, so it was a wild 21st birthday. But and I'd say really through that experience, I started to really think about, as a mother now, and I'm raising this young man as he goes through his own experiences and finds his place in the world, really connecting back to my core and my center and what makes me me. And from there, so I started off in education. I was an English as a second language teacher originally, and then branched over into consulting and leadership development. So I went on to get my doctorate in transformational leadership. And throughout that experience, the more I studied it, the more that in, corporate, I got the promotions, kind of went up that corporate ladder, so to speak. I consistently felt like there were so many traditional leadership frameworks that actually did not provide space or room for really reflecting my lived experiences and what leadership looked like to me, based on, my values and really being able to show up as my whole authentic self. So that's just a little bit around, kind of what's shaped me and background that's gotten me to where I am today.
That is so fascinating that how you got here. And and being able to um identify, you know, how leaders are leading and perhaps, like you said, the frameworks and what's missing in them. And I think, the really cool thing is we're in a time where some of that is being talked about.
Yeah.
um and you come I also, I came from corporate, many years working with doctors, lawyers, um insurance companies, big employers, and you see all kinds of leadership frameworks and structures. You're like, whoa, has anyone actually thought about what we're doing here?
Yes.
Like there is some consciousness and like intention that needs to be, that's, I think, that actually creates the best leaders, and we prepare people in leadership in a way that supports them to be the best leader they can be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I I
100%.
really do love that. So talking now, so you talk, and my one of my favorite topics is core values. So let's just circle back to that a little bit. That it
Yeah.
like I do some business coaching and I make like brand new entrepreneurs get down and dirty into those core values immediately, and it drives them crazy. But in the end, they're like, I'm so glad I had these core values to help, take me through this journey of entrepreneurship. And as working in a system where, you were working as a teacher and then to come out and consult on your own. So now, like, you create that culture in your own entrepreneurship.
Yes. Yes.
And so, what can you share maybe a little about maybe your thoughts on core values and maybe what your core, if you willing to share some of the core values?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I would love to. So also definitely a topic that I'm passionate about as well. And when I think of core values and how I talk about them to my children, also to my clients and really anyone that's willing to listen, is
Thank you.
yeah, I'm like, I love it. Um, that's your North Star. Those are your guiding principles, right? So when you think about your roadmap on whether it's professionally or personally, it should all
Perfect.
align. It should all align. That's your guardrails that really helps you
Mhm.
make decisions is a big one, right? Is this in line with what I believe, my core values? Am I able to show up living out those values? I think another big piece is your core values and what you believe in. That translates to action and your behaviors. And
Ooh,
yeah,
say that again. That I love that.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely. So your core values, what you believe in, what you're thinking, that translates into your actions and your
Yes.
behaviors, you
Yes.
know? So that's how that it's everything. It's how you show up in this world.
Oh, I've never heard it said quite like that, and that was so impactful. So what are some of your core values?
Yes, yes. So, probably won't be a huge shocker, but one of my big ones is authenticity. So that's really big to me, being able to show up authentically. And to me, that also is owning things. So being able to own, whether it is maybe a growth opportunity even that I have, being able to own my role in different conversations or situations and really approach it from that way. Another piece is respect and transparency. Those are really, really huge for me.
Okay.
And another one is joy. And I think that's one that I feel like sometimes it can be easy to not think about that as a core value is what I have
Okay.
found. But
Yeah.
it's so important. Like what brings you joy? What are the things that you enjoy doing as a child? Because honestly, they're
Mhm.
more than likely things you still will have joy from as an adult. But a lot of times we've just been conditioned to do not do those things because they're silly or they
Or
don't
move
align.
on to something different, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
I l yes, to all of that. And I think, I'm all about, like, making core values, like, part of every conversation. Like, tell me like, I get really excited when you can have those conversations and you learn so much about someone by their core values,
You do.
right?
You
And
do.
I think the biggest lesson, I mean, a couple of mine are connection, collaboration, and community. Those are my guiding, that's my North Star. And
Yes.
when I'm in alignment with those, it works. It's
Yes.
beautiful. As soon as I get out of it, it's like, what were you doing? Get back, get back, get back.
Yes.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
think when you're in a leadership role, you
Mhm.
have to have some core values. Now, do
Mhm.
our core values have to match? No. That doesn't make a like successful team. But can we
Right.
respect that our core values that we all bring and we're working toward, all of our values contribute to something, I think is key. It's key.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And I think, I'm big on starting with understanding yourself, right? That self-awareness piece. And then that has to extend outwardly because to your point, um, core values can be different and are different for everyone, right? You can have a team of 5 and everyone's got different core values. When you understand though what those values are for your team and how they show up. So like what does that look like in real life, in the day-to-day? I mean, the impact that that makes because you get a good understanding for how to communicate with them then. You also get an understanding for what they would see as, tokens of like appreciation or respect and how they feel important too. And so it just gives a really good, again, like that map, those guardrails of how to engage and interact with people. And then to your point too, when you're out of alignment, you feel it, right? You
Oh,
feel it. And I think that's where burnout comes from too, honestly.
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think, so speaking about leadership, but like not all leadership roles, I mean like leadership in a head of a company, right?
Right.
Like we are leaders as parents. So we might have, back to the core values, my core values in parenting are a little different than my core values for my business, and they can
Yep.
be separate.
They
They
can
can
be.
be, but they're probably connected. But they, right? But
Yeah.
they're different. And I think sometimes, and I know this like particularly when I'm working with entrepreneurs, and particularly if I get really like minute to it, to when I'm training new Pilates teachers, I
hmm
always say to them, you are in a leadership role when you open a studio.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. And you are responsible for what kind of community you're going to cultivate or how you're going to lead that. So you got to do some work in the beginning.
100%. I love, so I think of it, there's an analogy that I think, and I always say, as a leader, you're the thermostat and you're the one who's setting the temperature for your team. And that's again why that self-awareness piece, like you have to be tapped into what's going on with you and being able to, but to your point, it's leadership can take so many different forms.
Mhm.
And so I mean everyone's a leader, right? Everyone can show up as a leader, whether it's in your community or in your home or in your career. And so yeah, it's just important to think about, how you influence that culture and the environment around you.
And how you hold the space for that environment, right?
Yes.
That's part of being a leader.
Yes, exactly.
How you show
Exactly.
up.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, because how you show up then tells people how they're going to show up,
Exactly.
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what so to you, what is your definition of leadership?
Mm. My definition of leadership is someone, and again, title, I always say like agnostic, it can be industry, title agnostic, but someone who is able to show up with confidence and provide that vision, the direction, the support to drive some type of result, right? A lot of times that's mission driven. And for me, it's being able to do that from a place of really understanding yourself
Mhm.
and operating from that as like your root, right? And being able to encourage others to do the same, not to be a replica of you, but
Exactly.
to, yes, like tapping into their strengths, their core values again, right? So that they can make impact in a way that's meaningful and in a way that only they can. That's leadership is bringing out the best in other people. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is a great definition. I think it speaks to, I hope that our listeners really feel like that speaks to so many levels in all of our lives,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
like a leader doesn't always have to be the big, showy leadership. Sometimes
Right.
the leadership is I'm with the people. I'm with the
Yeah.
people, right?
Yeah.
And that really I think we sometimes just think it's that big, it's that CEO, it's that head of whatever. And it's, I actually like invite you to like maybe, take a moment to like think about in your own life where you show up as a leader.
Yeah.
And I love, love, love the part about how a leader actually really is there to really spark that best in those around them.
Yes. Yes,
right?
exactly. Exactly.
And oh, so good, so good. Oh, so tell me a little bit about your business. Talk a little bit about Gold Cardinal Consulting.
Yes, yes. So we specialize in leadership development, also diversity, equity, and inclusion, and change management. And so we actually merge all three of those together because I see change management as how you can change hearts and minds, and then that does translate into behaviors. And then that ties into our DEI, right?
Mhm.
How can we create environments and really lead from a place where everyone can show up and is celebrated as their full authentic selves, right?
Mhm.
That there's not even a need to try to make a seat at the table because everyone's building the table together, so to speak, right? And the conscious leadership piece, so that is we actually created our own framework, so kind of going back to what I really realized in my journey was not working. And so I pulled, different things that do tend to work or see results, but also pulled in a lot of the, what works within from a DEI perspective and lens, from a change
Right.
management lens, and what type of environment or model would really help people understand from a self-awareness piece how they can show up as their whole authentic selves and lead from a place of consciousness.
Mhm.
And then also start to expand that to others around them. And again, that could be their team, could be their family, could be others in their community.
The ripple
Um,
effect.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's really expansive, right? And
Yeah.
so that's a lot of what we do is working with leaders as individuals or teams. Kind of depends on what the needs are, but we're big on impact and being able to help others show up as their full best authentic selves is really what just drives us every day. So
And what a need in today's world.
yes.
And okay, I'm going to go there.
Do
In this
it.
unique time we are in,
Yeah,
and in this environment we're in where some of these systems are being challenged, or shall I say even in some cases being removed,
yeah.
how do we where how are we going to lead through that?
Mm. So a few different things. And I really do believe that we are at a point in time that like history books are going to go back and talk about this.
A long time.
And yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
I keep coming back to community, and I think connection, it's so important. And that's also why it's so important to have a really solid understanding and be rooted in who you are and the value of that. And yes, what your core values are, but again, how did those show up, right? That's
Mhm.
the beauty of it, is you can
Mhm.
say, I can go out to the grocery store and I'm living out my core values, right? And this is how I interact and how with others and how I treat other people because of what I believe in. And I think a lot of that's tied to identity too. The other piece is, I think right now there's so much that, in just full transparency, I think is intentionally designed to isolate and to silence. And the anecdote to that, I really think, is coming together as a community. And I'm big on, the belief that a rising tide lifts all others. And I think it truly is that there is enough abundance for all of us, whatever it is. Yes, like
Yes.
if
Yes.
we come together, I mean, it creates that unstoppable wave. And so, but I think that's really the key part is staying connected, and operating from a place of self-awareness and support for others.
You answered that very well. I think that we have to talk about these, and I think,
Yeah.
you know, uh, um, and again, like I'm in Canada, you're in
Yeah.
the US, there's some
Yeah.
challenges there. There's some very, like, we're in such a divisive time that, you know, some days I don't even know what's happening. I can't even keep track. But I want to come back to that community piece because it's the archive and we talk about the hive, and the hive is for the greater good. It is the bees working together. They don't work for themselves. They
Yeah.
work for each other. And you know, what does it mean for you? What does the hive mean for you? And I would like it in two parts if we could. What does it mean for you in your business? And
Yeah.
what does it mean for you in your personal life?
Yeah. What a beautiful question. So in my business, when I think about what the hive means for me, a couple of things. Um, we can get a lot farther together. I firmly believe that, and it ask anyone that knows me. I love thought partnership. I love co-creating, and that's with my clients and with my team, with really whoever I'm with, because I do believe that there's so much beauty in the diversity of perspective and experience and idea. And I really think like yeah, the idea is always so much better in the end when multiple perspectives are contributing to it and it just becomes this beautiful thing. Um, and I think also being able to ask for support, right? Being able
Yes.
to, yeah, like
Mhm.
there are things going back to my core value of joy, there are things that bring me joy, and there are things in business that are not my
That do
zone of
not.
genius and do not bring me joy. Yeah, like I want to Marie Kondo that out. Like, you
Yes.
know, like but there's others who they love it. And so and that helps them shine too. I think that so I'm big on
Yes.
I see delegation as a really good way to also elevate other people, right? Yeah. Yeah. And
Yes.
so that's a lot, you know, from a personal or from a professional perspective,
Yeah.
what that means to me. And then the other piece from a personal perspective is I think it comes back to support too, and being able to have a community where you have people who can see you and make sure that you feel heard and are gonna recognize when something feels maybe a little off, right? And
Yes.
they're just there to support you and to cheer you on too, because I think celebration also is so needed, right? And so it's like yes, to support you through challenges and difficult times, also to celebrate you, right? And
Yes.
yeah, so I think it's
And
just important.
I think part of for me, like and I say this so often, we are not meant to do this alone.
No, right,
Delegation does not mean weakness.
right.
Delegation actually allows for expansion and elevation.
Yes.
And I think, I think there's a lot. And I was guilty when, I got four kids, when my oldest was being diagnosed with rare disease, and I was working all these hours, and I had toddlers and preschool. Like, yeah, my house was a mess. And I just thought, I'm going to put my head down and I'm just going to do.
Yeah.
And that we talked about, that actually led me very close to my first close to burnout,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
first invitation.
Yes.
Um, and because we cannot do that alone. And it is not weakness when we're asking for help in our business. And look, I love what you said, that when we delegate, or when there's a co-collaboration, that when the ideas, when we get all these different perspective, the richness of the idea grows.
Yes.
And
Yes.
isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
And don't
It's
we need
amazing.
more of that in our lives today?
Yes. Yeah.
And the hive is, and I just, any woman who's listening to this, please do not think you have to do it alone.
Right.
Do not. And it
Yeah.
doesn't, doing it, and I don't say that in like you've got to, pay me to be your business coach. Look, if you need support, come to my community.
Yeah,
Find your people.
right.
Find your people. Find the people who, if you're that entrepreneur who's struggling with like, oh geez, now I'm a leader and now what am I going to do? Find the people who
Yeah,
you can talk about what it means to be a leader.
yeah,
Find the
yeah,
people who you can talk to, like, what are core values? Those conversations. And
yeah.
you will find like there are so many of us willing to just have a conversation.
Yeah, it's so cathartic too, right?
Right?
I think that's the scene piece. It's like,
Yes.
yeah, it's so many of us that are willing to have conversations. And I think also when you hear from others too,
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I've been through something similar, or it
There's a
just,
part of my story you can relate to.
yeah, versus I think sometimes, if we're not reaching out and trying to build community, it's very
Mhm.
easy to kind of spiral and to say, "Oh my gosh, is it me?"
Yeah.
Is like I don't know what to do, right? So,
And you get really stuck in that pattern, right?
yeah,
I want to go back to something we talked about off air
yeah,
because we met through Rachel Rogers
yeah,
and we were just talking about Rachel Rogers and how Rachel does community.
yes,
And maybe we'll sort of end on this note a little bit
yeah,
is, I can say, I was so nervous to go to ROI. I was coming into the US in a time that isn't as easy as it
mhm,
once was.
mhm.
I was coming into a community that I really I didn't know anybody. I came to ROI knowing no one.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, here I am.
Hello.
Hi. And that openness to community
Yeah.
was life changing. And it was the example to me where everyone will say, "Oh, Amy always does community so well." But sometimes I don't put myself always in those places of community. And you know, my experience with Rachel was, wow, she can like call on the people
Yeah.
and the people will come.
Yes. Yes.
And in really big ways. Was that your experience as well?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It really was. And I think the other really beautiful thing about her and that community too is, I mean, you want to talk diversity. There's diversity of
Un
every
Yeah.
kind when you see, I mean, the outfits that people wear. It's the most beautiful, like self-expression all over, right? The hairstyles, that it's beautiful. And it's everyone is from different backgrounds, has different types of businesses, and everyone comes together to support each other and celebrate one
Mhm.
another. And I think also, I want to note, especially at ROI, this last one that just happened, Rachel also showed up very vulnerable and transparent in her journey and her experience too. And I thought that was so beautiful because it really shows, I think, no matter the level you're at or the place you're at in life,
Mhm.
you always need support and you always
Mhm.
need people who are going to lift you up, and you need that community. So yeah,
And you didn't get there alone.
you
You
need to get that
didn't get there
exactly,
alone, right?
exactly, exactly.
Oh, so, so good. Okay. What do you want every listener who's listening to this today? What do you want one thing for them to walk away with?
Mm. I would love for them to walk away with one thing, maybe one change, one commitment that they would want to make to themselves
Mhm.
about how they can honor their whole self more fully, personally or professionally. Just one thing.
Mm, I love that. I love that. How can people connect with you? How can they find you? How can they send you a DM even if they just have a question about all this good leadership that you're doing?
Yes, yes. So I'm on all the socials, I think. But so Instagram, our company is at Gold Cardinal Consulting. And then my personal one too. Happy to answer any
We'll
questions.
drop these all in the show notes
Oh,
as
that's perfect. Okay, perfect. So on Instagram, and then I'm also on LinkedIn as well. So those are all always really good. Um,
well. Well, thank you so much for being
yes,
here. This was just, I think, such a timely conversation. You're doing such great work in the world, and
thank
I
you.
am so grateful. I am so grateful that a brain date on leadership brought us together.
I love it. I am too. It really was meant to be, honestly. Yeah, I'm so grateful.
Awesome. Well, until next time, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.